The election results? Total dismay. Get it?
Well, hello and welcome to the show. Colourful Conversations with Mark and Pete. This is the show dedicated to religion, politics and business. Well, each week Clergyman Pete and businessman Mark debate a crucial topic this week, UK election. May ends in June. Oh. Yes. Well, here we are, exasperated and utterly exhausted from the United Kingdom general election. And what do we have? Well, quite simply, chaos. I would have to say that many people predicted a complete landslide for the Conservatives. Well, what happened there? Clergyman Pete, I see you there chuckling away to yourself, knowing that both of our predictions were completely and utterly wrong. I say wrong. I mean, we did predict that the Conservatives would win, but my goodness, what went wrong for Theresa May?
Yes, the thing is, in fact, we both predicted an overall majority for the Conservatives. I think our predictions were completely accurate insofar as that they were completely wrong.
Yes, but I think that's a very good political answer, and I think you were very much following Theresa May's philosophy.
Apart from being completely wrong, we were right. Yeah, yes, got it. Yes. I certainly got it completely wrong. I saw that Theresa May was robotic, as people pointed out. I saw that she didn't come across as that personable, being polite. Perhaps someone more impolite would say that she came across as almost inhuman and just repeating the same lines again and again. Whereas Jeremy Corbyn, although not that competent seeming, doesn't have a good grasp of the economy, at least came across as very genuine in his beliefs. So yes. He had the benefit of the doubt.
And I think he bought a new suit, which I think helped.
Yeah, and if he could only groom the beard to look a bit more statesmanlike, I think he would look exactly right. Now, we've commented before that Theresa May could do with some sort of makeover to make her look good, but it's not the looking good that counts. Some
substance, political substance.
Neither Jeremy Corbyn nor Theresa May look great. But Jeremy Corbyn did come across as being more genuine, more human. Theresa May has a certain level of competence in that she appears to understand the brief, let's put it that way. But when it comes to her political instincts, she's sorely lacking. I mean, even the decision to hold the election, which took us by surprise because it seemed like a stupid idea, and we only thought, I mean, us along with other commentators, that in addition to the polls that we had, she must have further polling, some in-depth polling that people do, drilling into the main drivers for votes that indicate that she would win. Maybe she did, but if that's the case, they were sorely mistaken.
Well, let's actually look at that point, because just to clarify the situation, the Conservatives did actually gain the majority of the seats, so that she had more seats than anyone else. But the problem here for our international listeners is that she didn't gain an overall majority. That is, that when you add up all of the Conservative seats, and they got 318 in total, but when you add up all of the opposition, that's the Labour Party, the DUP and the Liberal Democrats and many others, unfortunately it meant that the Conservatives would then not have that majority. So what the situation we're in right now is this remarkable position where they're having to do deals with the Democratic Unionist Party in the Northern Ireland. Now, of course, this is something that no one ever believed at the beginning of this year could ever happen. So it does put her in a very, very vulnerable position. Before she called the election, it was seemingly as though she was in a very strong position.
Yes,
actually, as we know, she made a very bad judgment, didn't possibly actually really understand the mood of the people, and particularly young people, I would say, because what Jeremy Corbyn definitely did And this is what I would sort of describe as the silent majority here, which is that the young people came out in their droves, basically on the promise from Jeremy Corbyn that tuition fees would be completely eradicated, which of course is always a vote winner. Now, economically, many people would say, how on earth is he going to pay it? But of course, it was a vote winner. And of course, the other factor which played into the Labour Party, probably without even uttering a word, is Theresa May's very bad handling with regard to dealing with the old age pensioners, and particularly with regard to tax on health, and particularly dementia tax and many other things like that, how people would possibly be affected for those people who are in their dotage. This was handled very, very badly. Now, I was going to ask you there, do you think then that perhaps going into this election, that perhaps some of the policies in the Conservative Party wasn't thought through, or was it more around the way that people just didn't like Theresa May? Which do you think? Was it about policy, or was it about the person?
Well, I think there's a third thing to take into account. Yes, there was something about some of the policies. You're thinking, you were talking about how, particularly about caring policies, the ones you were referring to. So there was, yes, the triple lock on pensions, but also there were the issues to do with the NHS as well, which people always say, we don't want to see any nationalisation, more privatisation of the NHS, and yet it keeps happening. The problem is not just that, not just the policies, not just the personality of Theresa May. Yes, when she was seen against Jeremy Corbyn, she didn't seem as genuine, but also the campaign decision. This is the third thing I'm talking about. The campaign decision to have it presented like a presidential run. So it's Theresa May against Jeremy Corbyn, made it difficult. You see, if we'd have had a whole panel of people representing the Conservatives, and we had popular figures, sort of Boris Johnson, who was given a back seat, thinking he would go off script, I guess, which is possible, but you need to have a range of people.
Totally.
And not just Theresa May and Boris Johnson, this woman with personality. But I don't think we want to overplay it. I just wanted to point out something that I said when we made our prediction about who would win. I pointed out, just looking at the overall prediction of vote, based on polls, which now a poll, looking at how you're going to vote, would be if the election were held today, how would you vote? So you have to say, well, how does this predict the future? And it looked as though that was going to lead to a Conservative win. Now, if you had more detailed analysis of different people's views on different policies, but also people's views in different constituencies, then you'd be able to see, am I going to win or not? What sort of swing do I need in order to win? And that's where I think it looks to me like the information that Theresa May had was not detailed enough, because actually the Conservative share of the vote went up.
Yep.
It's just that the Labour's went up more.
Yes. Well, let's take this point about where Theresa May was prior to calling the election, because although she definitely had a slightly larger majority, it was perceived that she could only but increase it. Here's a little poem, which is a little lesson here for any politician, and this is called The Silent Majority. I once had a very small minority, until a snap general election. Then I won a massive majority because of opposition rejection. And when I gained authority, it changed the whole complexion. World domination was my priority as I took a new direction. With my newfound seniority, I sensed an increasing disconnection. Despite my seemingly superiority, there was swelling insurrection. Now I have a sense of inferiority through fickle public disaffection, and I'm back in the minority from the latest vote rejection. The silent majority speaks volumes. So, those undercurrents of the young and even the old that she actually spoke against Theresa May. And so the question now is, of course, should she remain? Should it be that she should now actually go? Because most people seem to have rejected her, and I think that's the key here. People have spoken. So the question is, who should step in? Who is best positioned? Could I offer a suggestion that it might be someone that we all know and love, that perhaps we haven't seen? Maybe the Queen should step in and I'm taking it.
Now, as you know, gentle listener, we at Mark and Pete like to take all of our politics very seriously, and it does look like the electoral system has let us down. Now, in order to form a government in Britain, the leader of a party with the most seats that they can gather together can become the Prime Minister. So not just in your own party, you can draw in people from other parties, which is why it's possible to Theresa May, who has to get 326 or above seats in order to have an overall majority, to go from 318, 326. It's possible if you take another party on board, DUP, with 10 votes, that puts you 2 over. So that's why it's possible. And it's possible maybe for Labour to try and put together enough, but actually it looks like they'll, even with all the other parties, they're still going to be shy of the requisite number. There were 8 different parties and an independent in Parliament this time. So you've got quite a bit of negotiating to do if you want to put together something to go against the Conservatives. So with all that in mind, when anyone goes to the Queen with this idea, I think she should just turn it down and say, no, I'm going to dissolve Parliament and I'm going to run the show. Because a lot of you listeners over in America may not be aware that we have not only the Queen, who is very well respected, but also her husband is possibly one of the most diplomatic and considerate men you could possibly come across. And if he were running, for example, foreign policy, I think we could see quite a change in. I mean, if we look back on some of the things he said over the years, he's I think I'm right in saying managed to insult virtually every race and religion
and nation
known to man, and possibly a few more as well.
I think
it's the sort of person we need. Yeah, Prince Charles.
Prince Charles is the sort of person who I think could rearrange all the plants.
Well, Prince Charles is the next in line to the throne, and he is unique, I think, amongst royals, in that this can be seen as slightly insular, but I think is not that way. I think he's got his head right up his backside, and he cannot see further than his own perhaps rather puerile fascination with the green movement and talking to plants and trees. So we think that here at Mark and Pete that he would be a great member of Parliament. In fact, he should replace Parliament and simply change it into like a glorified greenhouse and fill it with
potted plants
and fill it with vegetables.
Well, but they already have that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So no change there then. So
no. And of course, the other option, of course, is that it's turned into a kindergarten with Charlotte and Prince,
the Prince and Princess,
George.
Little children.
Again, and what's that? Strange stick at the end of the table that sort of blows.
Isn't that Theresa May? I think that's what you're thinking.
Oh yes,
rather rigid and unyielding. You mean? Is that what you're talking about?
That's right. Yes. Well, I think you get the sense here that we're exasperated at the fact that we have no alternative here other than to look at ridiculous options. Let's be honest,
sent us mad. It sent us over the top.
Let's go back to some kind of common sense here. Because the general public are utterly disgusted at the fact that we've got ourselves into this situation where now it seemingly appears that we have nobody who can sensibly negotiate with Europe. This is Donald Tusk and the European Union from Brexit, because the next key stage for the United Kingdom has to be the negotiations, which were originally marked for, I think it's next week, to start the negotiations of Brexit. Now, if Theresa May is in a vulnerable position, and even if it were to be the case that she was ousted and another prime minister was brought in, whether it be from the Conservative Party or anywhere else for that matter, potted plants or anywhere else that we choose to have, surely we need a strong government. So let's look at the options here. Theresa May carries on and works with the DUP. That's option one. Option two is Theresa May resigns. The Conservatives still have a relationship with the DUP, but works with a different prime minister, unelected, accepted, in the sense of it would need to be a new leader, Boris Johnson or anyone else for that matter. Or perhaps what I'm going to suggest is the best option is we go to the country again, setting out a very clear agenda in terms of what the nation has to vote for in terms of particularly the Brexit negotiations, looking at the economy, which is one a rather fundamental element, which I think often got forgotten during the campaigning. And I think something like, a September-October election would be a sensible thing for the nation. And perhaps we would have to simply go back to Europe and say, we're not ready to have the negotiations. We're going to go for an election. And what do you think? What's the best option for the nation going forward?
Yes. What do you think, gentle listener? But my thoughts are that in terms of what's going to happen, I think the most likely is that Theresa May will form a government with the DUP.
It's not a coalition. So the point of a coalition is that you buy into the fact that both parties are in government. So the DUP wouldn't actually necessarily run government, but what they would be doing is that they would work and vote and basically go with the government's vote in Parliament on key subjects, such as Brexit, economy and so on.
Yes, this is called confidence and supply. Yeah,
confidence and supply. I'm very confident that might happen.
Yes, and so it's not a coalition, but it's an arrangement which falls short of that. In that, you would form your government completely from people from the Conservative Party, so there wouldn't be that side of it.
Yes.
Probably.
Can I just make? I don't want to diminish this to an analogy with business, but let's put it this way: if this were to be a business, and we found ourselves with the board, i.e., the government, we're in such a disarray, and clearly confidence is everything. If you were a shareholder of a company such as this, i.e., the public being a shareholder of, we'll say, Brand United Kingdom, I think it would be very obvious that you'd say this leadership cannot rule. This is not going to be workable. This is why I favour the new election, and I think to have a clearer mandate, and we don't have a clear mandate. That's the problem.
Yes. Neither of us has said that the best option is for Jeremy Corbyn to form a government.
Indeed.
Now, there's a reason for that. We don't think it is, but it's not to say though that what we've just outlined as possibilities are the only two. There is something else that could follow on from what I think is the most likely, which is that the arrangement with the DUP will stand and that Theresa May will form the government. I think that's the most likely. But even without an agreement to go back to the country for a general election soon, it could still happen in that if your party turns against you, you can have a vote of no confidence.
Yes.
And that forces a general election. And that could certainly happen with it being so tight, with there not being that much of a difference between the Conservatives and the rest of Parliament. Even with the DUP on their side, if a lot of the Conservatives decide, no, we're not happy, you could force a general election. So I could see that still happening.
Yeah.
Even if it's not intended, she tries to cling on to power, does Theresa May, but still there is a general election sometime this year. That's really what I think is going to happen. Now, as you know, my predictions are always 100% correct, except when they're not. But so I think that's most likely that Theresa May will manage to hold on to power. That if that happens, that the negotiations for Brexit will start in 2 weeks' time. That's what we're told by Theresa May and by Angela Merkel, who is a very powerful voice in Europe.
Yeah.
But that later there could well be, and I think sometime this year, a move to have another general election.
Well, I think that's likely. Yeah.
So we could then have another prime minister. Now, are we going to make predictions about what will happen when we come back again? Well, given our track record on different election predictions, maybe we'll leave it till a bit later before we.
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to sum up with a thought here, listeners, and it sort of reflects here on some of the problems. And Theresa May, if you're listening, take note.
She's a big fan, I think.
Big fan indeed, and quite right. Yes, probably sitting there. If you, Theresa, stop crying, please.
Cheer up. It may never happen. It did.
Hung Parliament, Ode to UK Election 2017. A political rope is dangled and swung as party ties are quickly strung. Campaign chants are loudly sung while backroom deals smell of dung. Now Tories biting many a tongue as Labour woos the old and young. Lots of gleeful hands are rapidly wrung when a sudden surprise has swiftly sprung, and so a majority has been flung, leaving ministerial necks truly hung. Yes, Theresa May. Are you going to be swinging in the next few weeks? Well, listeners, what do you think? Do you think that Theresa May will carry on, or do you think it's time now to actually undo that rope and just step away from the painful problem of being hung out to dry? Well, join us again next time for more colourful conversations with Mark and Pete.